Um, like I said before, we are going to focus on HTML right now. We will move down to CSS and JavaScript, but right now we are going to focus on HTML. So yeah, like I said before, if you like the contents, please like, subscribe, and also comment, and I will always respond to your comments. Yeah, maybe questions or anything you want to ask. Let's move on. So HTML, we've established before what this means. Like HTML is the hypertext markup language, that is just the acronym of it. Yeah. Now HTML is the standard markup language for web pages, right? Now, what do I mean by web pages, right? You have a website, right? You want to move from homepage of the website to maybe where you register or where you will fill form or where you will see about us or where you will, let's say for example, let's take what is it called? Let's take Facebook for example, right? We have Facebook feed, we have user profile page, we have feed, we have profile pages, right? Now, these are different pages. Yeah, you have your feed. Feed is one page. Then you have user profile. Let's say you want to view somebody's profile on Facebook, you just click on the person's profile. It takes you to another page where you will see the user's profile. There's also a way you might want to view the user's maybe business page and everything. It takes you to the user's business page instead of the profile. These are web pages, different web pages that are connected to each other. Yeah. So yeah, I call the HTML the skeleton of the website. I know in our last video we talked about this. I made it the skeleton. I call it the skeleton of a website. It's just the skeleton, the components of a website, and that is what makes up the components of a website. So HTML consists of a series of elements, right? Now, let's say elements, components. Let's say, for example, you have your nail bones, you have your arm bones, you have your skull, you have your toe bones, you have your, leg bones, all these things. You even have your hip bones. All these things, right, is a series of components which make up the human body. That is the same way we have elements or components that make up the HTML. Now, HTML elements tell the browser how to display the contents, right? Now, depending on, let's say, for example, you want to arrange a human body, so that it will be presentable to the users, right? You will start with the skull. That is how you start with the skull, the head. After you arrange the skull, you can start with the lower part of the skull, maybe the neck bone, and so forth and so on, arranging this thing till you get to the leg. So that's it becomes what you want. It becomes a human being, and users can actually interact with this person also. So the same way HTML elements, or can call it components, tell the browser where you view this website, tell it how to arrange or display the content. Yeah, we can see an example in the code, right? This is an example in the code, right? So right here, I'm using what is called VS Code, Visual Studio Code, for this, but I will do a more detailed tutorial in the next slide. But yeah, so you can see by the left hand side, right, that we have what we call index.html. Let me increase this a bit. Yes. So you have index.html, right? Now, every time you visit, every time you visit a website, right, there is a particular page, particular file the website is going to look for. That file is called index.html. This is browser, this is kind of the rule, right? Every time you visit a website, that website is going to always look for index.html to be able to display the content. In fact, this is like the entry point of a website, Just like you have a house, you build a house, and you have an entry point. Entry points can be the front door. That is the main entry point. Let me call it the main entry point, the front door. So websites always look for index.html, to pick content, to pick pages from there. Other pages might be connected inside index.html, but then the main place the browser hits its index or is looking for is index.html. Now, index.html is like the extension of it, the way you have .mp3. .mp3 is like music, with the way you have .mp4. That MP4 is like a movie or something like that, a video, something like that. So when it comes to websites pages or website files have their own extensions, right? When it comes to HTML, that is where we have .html, right? So anytime you see a file called which has .html, it means a HTML file. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on. So this code over here is a sample of an HTML code, right? So let me go one by one, move one by one. So you have doc type, right? So doc type is what tells a browser, you know, whenever you fetch an HTML file, of course now we know what is HTML file. This is what tells the browser that this is going to be a HTML file, always. Now, apart from this guy, you always need to put it. It's not a compulsory thing, but good standard, or you always need to put it. So have the HTML, right? Yeah. By the way, we have the HTML. By the way, yeah, I think you might want to know what this less than or equal to sign is doing here, but in other slides, I'm going to actually talk about that. Yeah. So we have HTML, or you can also see this as the components that I mentioned or the element I mentioned in the slides, right? So we have the HTML element, right? So the HTML element is like the root element, when you want to write a HTML code, right? Everything you're going to write in the HTML file as a code is going to live inside the HTML root element, right? We always have the opening element and the closing element. Every element needs to be closed. Not necessarily every element, pardon me there, but most of the elements, 90%, 99, 98% of all the elements needs to be always be closed. We always need to know where it started and where it ended. So you need to actually open and close it. Yeah. So yeah, we move on to the head, right? So the head element contains meta information about a website. By meta, I mean extra information about a website. You know, maybe you want to, maybe description of the website, or maybe title of the website, or what the website is doing. If you want to include all this information in the website, that you don't want the user to see it, but it's just maybe in case somebody's want to know about your website or on Google and stuff, then this is where you need to put extra information that you want people to know on your website. So inside this place, you have what they call title. Inside the head, remember I told you that every element needs to be closed, and this is the way you close it, right? But then we'll talk more detail about this in the next slide. Now you have the title, right? Now this title is like the name or the title of your website. You know, we also we can talk about the description of the website, but this is just the title. It's just like, for example, you want to write a book, right? And you need to give it a title. Somebody needs to see the title of the book. From the title, you can deduce maybe what this can be. Not necessarily every time, but some most of the times you can deduce what the book is about, from the title. So you have a title tag which always lives in the head element. You never say it's moving outside the head element. Maybe you move it from here to here. No, You don't do that. It always remains inside the head element. Then you have the body, right? Yeah. So the body, every other thing that is going to be displayed on the website lives inside the body. Every other element that you need to be displayed inside the website lives inside the body. Now, for example, you have what is it called? Like in the last um video we talked about the analogy of the website, the human being, right? Remember I told you about the head. Let's say that this is the head, contains information, right? You now have the body, right? Now, everything you want to be displayed on the website is going to be inside this place, inside the body. It contains everything you want to actually see. Yeah, that be anything you want to actually, all the things you want to be displayed in the website. Now, inside the body, you have other elements. After the body element, you have other elements like H1 and P1. This is just called heading. Let's use the analogy of or let's use the analogy of MS Word. You want to type something, or you want to you want to type something in MS Word, and you want a captivating header, right? You use this element to write your header, right? Don't worry about this. I will explain this in a more detailed way later on in the video. Yeah. Then, but this is for heading, and this is for paragraph. Yeah. So yeah, that is just the basic structure of HTML. Yeah.